You may have heard these rumors that Trump might take away security clearances from former members of the higher circles in Washington. This all happened after Helsinki went over kind of stinky, let's put it that way. And so when asked about these rumors, this is what Sarah Sanders had to say during a White House press briefing.
Not only is the president looking to take away Brennan's security clearance, he's also looking into the clearances of Comey, Clapper, Hayden, Rice, and McCabe. The president is exploring the mechanisms to remove security clearance because they've politicized and in some cases monetized their public service and security clearances. Making baseless accusations of improper contact with Russia or being influenced by Russia against the president is extremely inappropriate. And the fact that people with security clearances are making these baseless charges provides inappropriate legitimacy to accusations with zero evidence.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yes, can I start?
Go for it.
Okay, I wish Trump had looked into the security clearances for Comey and McCabe before this press conference took place, because they had already had their security clearances revoked. Just putting that out there. Like just a little bit of fact checking before the press conference takes place. That's all I have to say about that.
So if you wanted to go into like the ghost of Facebook Originals past, you'll see I did a segment called Honest Press Conferences. So I covered a lot of Sarah Huckabee Sanders' press conferences. And you know you're in trouble when she reads. Because a lot of it is like, that is a ridiculous statement. Will not dignify that with a response. Who's next? No, I already answered your question. Who's next? But when like random guy from the press is like, and the guy who does it is one of my favorites. He's like, so what do you think of Rand Paul's decision to tweet about removing their press clearances? She's like, well, I'm glad you asked because people are politicizing and demonetizing public service and all that stuff.
Yep.
It's funny how this started. Because like 4 days ago, Tucker Carlson did a thing like exclusive. Well, I think it was like John Brennan still has a security clearance. And the reason a lot of these people still have security clearance is because if they have a question about how stuff was, or they want advice on something, it's just this legacy, like lifetime membership to the library kind of thing.
Right, so look, the argument is, from the Trump administration, these are people who are politicizing the Russia investigation. Although I would argue the person who does the most politicizing of the Russia investigation is Donald Trump himself, who unprovoked, randomly out of nowhere, will start tweeting about how there was no collusion and no meddling. Okay, so let's put that aside. The whole purpose of this security clearance, as Brett correctly said, is to allow people who have a long-standing career in the intelligence community to become advisors should that be needed, right? If there is some questionable thing that comes up, they need expertise, they need someone who knows how to decipher what's going on, how to essentially look at the intelligence and interpret it, right? That's the whole purpose of it.
Hey, you used to do this. How would you do it if you still had this job today? And that's only if they're asked to come in.
Right.
Clapper had a response. Clapper said he does not receive briefings or, quote, have access to classified information. He says it's frankly more of a courtesy that former senior officials get the security clearance. And then Hayden stepped in and said, this won't have any, he says, I don't go back for classified briefings, won't have any effect on what I say or write.
It's hilarious.
Hayden, he tweeted later about how petty this was. Just like 15 laughing while crying emojis. It all started, this was the tweet from Rand Paul saying, is John Brennan monetizing his security clearance? Is John Brennan making millions of dollars divulging secrets to the mainstream media with his attacks on Donald Trump? If he I get it. If they think he's like this secret source, that's one thing. But like making millions from being the secret source, that's just not gonna happen.
Right, yeah, I know. Look, it is petty. And what I think is the more relevant part of this story is how Trump wants to retaliate against anyone who criticizes him, who speaks out about anything that he's done that might be questionable. I just think it's fascinating how quick Trump is to retaliate against people. That should worry someone, right?
Oh,
Like now, does he
100%.
have the right to revoke security clearance? Yes, he does. But it's unprecedented for a president to come forward and say that he is going to strike back at certain individuals because they had the gall to speak out against him or criticize him in any way.
Yeah. If John Brennan has, I guess in Trump's defense, John Brennan has laid down some pretty meaty burns against the president.
Yeah, much deserved, by the way.
Called him a snake oil salesman. He wrote an op-ed, and the editors of that newspaper he wrote it for allegedly said, you have to call him Mr. President. And Brennan was like, no, I'm not gonna do that.
In the
President
articles?
Trump, in the op-ed that he was writing, part of that back and forth for it to get published in the newspaper, he was like, I'm just not gonna call him the president.
Yeah, it's a stylistic thing that I don't understand, and it drives me crazy. It's in the New York Times.
Yeah.
They refer to him as Mr. Trump throughout the entire, reporting. And
here's more of Brennan's burns, which are Donald Trump's press conference performance in Helsinki. I love saying Helsinki. Rises to and exceeds the threshold of high crimes and misdemeanors. It was nothing short of treasonous. Not only were Trump's comments imbecilic, he is wholly in the pocket of Putin. Republican patriots, where are you?
so he's practicing his free speech there. And the president wants to retaliate because he is practicing his free speech.
Yeah.
I know that there are a lot of members of, that intellectual dark web that are outraged by this.
Absolutely.
They are. They're very outraged by it. Dave Rubin will have an hour-long discussion with some random person and refuse to ask them a single question during this interview, because that's something that they really care about, big ideas, and making sure that they represent the First Amendment right.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.